Assalamu alaikum students and welcome back to my channel. And today we are going to solve specimen paper for IGCSE, that is for the latest year 2023. And the pattern was same just like the O levels 5054, that a new topic of space physics is included in it, but only there is a difference of the time between the 5054 and 0625. In O levels 5054, we have 1 hour to complete these 40 MCQs, but in IGCSE, we are having 45 minutes to complete these 40 MCQs. Again, now we have to use the value 9.8 meter per second square for free fall motion, and we are having total 40 MCQs. So let's start with the first one. First question is, length of a string is measured between 2 points on a ruler. When the length of a string is wound closely around a pen, it goes round 6 times. So important thing is that it goes round 6 times. It means if we are taking a wire, so if we are going to wound it over a pencil or a pen, so it will take 6 rounds just like as shown in figure. What is the distance once round the pen? So you need to calculate the distance, that what will be the distance when we are going to round this wire on the pen. So first of all, we need to mark the length from the given diagram. First, starting from the initial point, we are having value 2.4 on the scale, 2.4 centimeter on starting, and 15.6 the ending point. So this is the total length, and if we initial and final length, and if we calculate the change in length, so change in length will be equal to final minus initial. So 15.6 minus 2.4, that is 13.2. So the actual length of that wire is equal to, or the string is 13.2 centimeter. Now we round it over a pen, and there are total 6 rounds over a pen. So we just need to divide this length 13.2 by 6. So if we divide it by 6, we will get answer 13.2 divided by 6. That is 2.2 centimeter. So 2.2 centimeter is the answer. Let's check up in the marking scheme also. Yes, in marking scheme, it is also option A. Okay, moving towards question number two. Question number two is, when does an object falling vertically through the air terminal velocity, air reach terminal velocity? So basically they are talking about when we object is falling freely vertically downward position. So at what time or at which point or how we are going to reach our terminal velocity. So question is basically related to terminal velocity. So let's check out the option. In the options, we are having when the acceleration of the object becomes negative, that is not possible. When the acceleration of the object is equal to g, that is also not possible, because we know that at terminal velocity, acceleration is equals to 0. So when the air resistance equals the weight of the object, yes, option C is possible, because when we are moving with constant speed or terminal velocity, so all forces acting on a body must balance each other. So yes, question number two, option C, right choice. Question number three, it says that an athlete runs a 100-meter race in a straight line. So basically, athlete is 100-meter race. This is the distance. The table shows how his speed changes with time for first 5 seconds. So the time allocation is of 5 seconds. And we are having a table, different values of speed and time are mentioned in the table. What is the average acceleration? So we need to calculate the average acceleration. So I always tell you that first of all, you need to memorize all the formula or the links related to that scientific quantity which they are talking about in the question. So if we talk about acceleration, so basically acceleration is equals to They are talking about the average acceleration, so it means final velocity minus initial velocity divided by time. Between 2 seconds and 3 seconds. So 2 seconds, 3 seconds mean we only need to talk about this is specific range. They are only talking about this specific part of the table. So basically at 2 seconds we are having a speed 4.1. This is our initial speed. And at 3 seconds we are having a speed 5.7. That is our final speed. So it means that acceleration will be equal to final minus initial divided by time, and the difference of time is equals to 1 second. We know 3 minus 2 is equals to 1. So we just need to simply subtract the velocities. So 5.7 minus 4.1, that is 1.6, option A. So question number 3, yes, answer A, the best choice. Question number 4, the gravitational field strength on the moon is 1.6 Newton per kg. Okay, this is the value of acceleration due to gravity on moon. And the astronaut has a mass of 75 kg. This is the value of the mass. And they are talking about the weight. So very simple question. W equals to mg. Mass multiplied by acceleration due to gravity. So 75 multiply 1.6. That is 120. Option C. Option C, right choice for question 4. That's simple. Okay, question number 5. Two objects P and Q are placed in a beaker containing a liquid. Object P floats. So important thing, basically object P floats in the liquid and object Q sinks. When we are talking about when object sinks means the density of that object is greater than liquid. So when we are talking about the density, so basically density is greater than, or density of this object is greater than liquid. So when the density is greater than liquid, so in that case object will sink. And if object is floating, so object floating means that density is less than liquid. So basically density of P is less than liquid and density of Q is greater than liquid. Which law for the densities of P, object P, Q and the liquid is possible? So we need to compare the values according to this situation. Remember that if we talk about liquid, so liquid is greater in density than P, object P, and it is less than Q. So first of all, we need to find out the greatest value of Q as compared to liquid. So in option D, you can compare it. The density of liquid is 13.6 and the density of Q is greater. So we find out this combination, last combination, density of P must less than the density of liquid. So density of object P is less than density of liquid. So option D is the right choice, in which the density of Q is greater than liquid and the density of liquid is less than, sorry, it is greater than the density of object P. Simple question. Question number 5, answer D. Okay. Question number 6, a ball of mass 0.12 kg is hit by a tennis player. The velocity of the ball changes. This is the mass. The velocity of the ball changes from 0 to 5 meter per second. So this is initial velocity, this is final velocity. This is the value of time. What is the average resultant force acting on the ball while it is being hit? So we need to calculate the resultant force. So now you need to recall the formula related to the forces. So we know the concept that F equals to ma, but there is no value of acceleration. So let's suppose if we are writing ma, this will not work for us. But if you split the value of a, So Vf minus Vi over T, then it will help you to find out the resultant force. So mass is 0.12 kg and speed is equals to final 5 meter per second minus initial 0 meter per second divided by time 0.60. And we just need to calculate the value F equals to ma. So mass is equals to 0.12 multiplied by 5 and divided by 0.61. So we are getting force of 1 Newton. Option A. So question number 6, option A. Question number 7, a balloon and a mass are attached to the rod that is pivoted at a fixed point P. So basically this question is related to the moment of force or the turning effect of forces. So basically mass is attached in that is applying force in downward position and balloon is attached. This is going to be apply force in upward direction. So basically two opposite directions are there. So balloon is filled with helium and balloon filled with helium applies an upward force on the rod and the rod is horizontal and in equilibrium. It means both forces are equal, both rotations are equal. Which action causes the rod to rotate clockwise? So it means we need to rotate it in clockwise direction. So we need to rotate like this. So first of all, you need to identify the correct rotation. This is our pivot point on right hand side. And according to that, if we consider the example of the clock, so the clockwise rotation will be in upward position like this. So that is the case. We need to rotate this rod in clockwise direction. So let's see. Option A says that the moving the balloon to the 40 centimeter. It means if we are moving balloon towards the left and the mass to 30 centimeter mark. So it means that according to option A, mass will be more closer to the end of the rod and balloon will be here. So it means the more mass or the more force is going to be act in downward position because this is at the extreme point of the rod. So it is going to be rotated in downward position. So option A is not possible because you know that the concept of the moment torque equals to F into D. So if we increase the momentum, so that will increase the rotation or the moment of on the rod, right? So option A is not possible. Moving towards option B, moving the balloon to 20 centimeter. Okay. So we need to move the balloon at 20 centimeter and the mass to the 10 centimeter mark. So we decrease the momentum. So it means that it helps to rotate the rod in upward direction because the distance from the pivot point is decreased and it is easy to move the rod in upward direction because the mass is heavy and if we are moving away from the center or the pivot point, so it is going to rotate in downward position. So we need to move towards the pivot. So if we move towards the pivot point, so it will help to rotate the rod in clockwise direction, that is in upward direction. So B is the right choice. Yes, B is the right option. A hole is made in a square tile of uniform thickness. The diagram shows the tile hanging loosely on a nail. Where is the center of gravity of the tile? So basically in question, the hint in this question is that it is uniform thickness. So tile is of uniform thickness. It means that if we hang this tile from any point, so the center of gravity will always at the center because the thickness of the tile is uniform. So basically D is at the center point. So D will be the center of gravity of the tile because it is uniformly distributed and we can easily draw a diagonal for regular shape to find the center of gravity. So this is the point. So it means that 8D. 8D. Right. Question number 9. An object of mass 0.16 kg is moving forward at a speed of 0.50 meter per second. So this is the mass of object and this is the speed which from which it is moving in forward direction. A second object of mass, okay, so second object is there. So we write M2 and M1 is at rest. So it means initially it is at rest. This will be the initial velocity for object 1. After collision, the second object moves forward at a speed of 0.50. So the situation is like this. Let's suppose if we are having two objects, one object that is object number 2, which is at rest, and the first object, which is going to move in the direction of the second object, and it is going to be hit the second object. The mass of second object is M2. So when it hits the object, so after collision, uh, the second object, it is mentioned that the second object moves forward at a speed of 0.50 meter per second. So it means that after collision, this object moves in forward direction with the speed mentioned in the question, that is 0.50 meter per second. So that is the final speed for a second object. So we may write it as, let's suppose, VF, final velocity of second object, that is equals to 0.50 meter per second. And this is the initial velocity of the first object, or we just simply write u and v for initial and final, so that will be more easy for us. So let's simply write u1 the initial speed for the first body, and u2 for the initial speed of second body, and v2 for the speed of second body, and they are asking about what is the speed of the first object after collision. So this is a case of momentum, and you know that law of conservation of momentum says that the momentum before collision will be equal to after collision, and that will be like this: m1 u1 plus m2 u2, that will be equal to m1 v1 plus m2 v2. So this is the formula for law of conservation of momentum. Now we just need to substitute the values. So if we substitute the values, so values will be like this: the mass of m1, that is 0.16, and the initial speed is equals to 0.50, plus second quantity will be 0 because it is initially at rest. And on right hand side again, m1 will be equal to 0.16, and we need to calculate the final velocity of object 1. So that is question mark, plus the mass of second object is 0.10, and the final speed is 0.50. So these are the value. So if we multiply left hand side, so quantities on left hand side will be 0.16 multiplied by 0.50, that is equals to 0.08, and on right hand side we are getting 0.16 v1 plus 0.10 multiplied by 0.5. So we are getting 0.05. Now this will subtract on the other side: 0.08 minus 0.05, that will be equal to 0.16 v1, and we divide it by, first we subtract the value, that will be equal to 0.03 divided by 0.16. So we are getting 0.187. So if we round off the value, so we will get 0.19. That is option B. Okay. So question number 9, option B is the right choice. That is also simple. You just need to calculate by substituting the accurate value. Question number 10. A ball is at rest at the top of a hill. The ball rolls down the hill. At the bottom of the hill, the ball hits a wall and stops, which energy changes occur. So first of all, we are starting from the top of a hill. So from top of a hill, we know that we are having potential energy, gravitational potential energy. So we need to start from either option A or from option B. Okay, so moving towards the next step, the ball rolls down the hill. So it means potential energy is going to be converted into kinetic energy. So that is a straightforward choice. Option B, first gravitational force, gravitational potential energy converts into kinetic energy, then into the internal energy, because at the bottom of the hill, the ball hits a wall and stops. So option B is the right choice. Yes, B is the right choice. A man climbs a ladder. Which quantities can be used to calculate the useful power of the man? So you just need to m- mention the formula for the power. Power is rate of doing work, W over T. And let's find out this in the option. The work done by the man and the time taken only. That is option C. Very simple question. Don't need to think about it. 11C. Question 12. A student uses her thumb to push a drawing pin that is thumb tack into a notice board. The pin goes into the board but does not penetrate her thumb. Which statement explain this? So if we take the example of a thumb pin, so you know that the upper surface or the upper area of thumb pin is greater as compared to the tip of the thumb pin. So we know that the pressure is equals to force per acting unit area. So if we increase the cross-sectional area, so pressure will decrease. And if we decrease the area, so pressure will increase. So at the bottom, we know that we are having a higher pressure. And at the top side, we know that the pressure will be low as compared to the tip of the pin. So it means that the pressure will be greater while we are pushing into a notice board. So the pressure of the pin on the notice board is greater than the pressure of the pin on her thumb. That is simple choice option D. Because we know that pressure is inversely proportional to cross-sectional area, and the cross-sectional area of the tip is less as compared to the upper surface of the thumb pin. Okay, question number 13. Question number 13 is a submarine is a boat that can travel below the surface of the sea. Okay. A submarine is 20 meters below the surface of the sea. The pressure due to the sea water at this depth is P. Okay. So this is the height or the depth for sea water. On another day, the submarine is 26 meters below the surface of fresh water. So basically, this is the depth for fresh water. So the density of sea is 1.3 times the density of fresh water. We know that the density of sea is greater than the density of fresh water. So the density of sea is 1.3 times the density of fresh water. It means the density of sea is 1.3 times the density of fresh water. So what is the pressure due to the fresh water at the depth of 26 meter? Okay. So basically question is related with the pressure in liquid. So the formula for pressure in liquid is equals to density, acceleration due to gravity and depth. And if we compare the values, so let's suppose if we talk about first the sea water. So for sea water, we know that pressure is mentioned as P. So density is 1.3 times basically. So we just write in the replacement of density, that it is 1.3 times greater the density, and we know that this factor remains constant. So acceleration due to gravity will remain same for both liquids. So we just ignore this factor. We just concentrate on height and density. And the height at sea level is mentioned at 20 meters. So if we multiply it, so let's suppose if we multiply, so 1.3 times 20, we will get answer 26. So we are getting answer 26. And let's suppose if we write the same value for the seawater, sorry, fresh water. So for fresh water, we know that the pressure will be again equal to rho GH, but density is less than the seawater. So we just write 1. Let's suppose if the density of seawater is 1, so the density of, uh, sorry, if the density of fresh water is 1 and the density of seawater is 1.3 times the density of fresh water, and the height is basically 26. So we are getting same values, because if we increase the depth for fresh water, we know that density is less in fresh water, but we are increasing the depth. So basically in this formula, we are having three factors. So if we increase one factor, decrease the second factor, so quantity will remain same. So that's why we are getting same answer in both cases. So it means pressure will remain same, that is B. Yes, 13B. Question 14. When particles of a gas collide with the wall of a container, the wall experiences a pressure. What is the cause of this pressure? So that is simple. When particles of a gas collide with the wall of container, so wall experience a pressure. We know the concept of force per acting unit area, because when kinetic energy increase, so molecules collide with the wall. So you need to answer the question. So the change in energy of the particle, the change in momentum of particles. So B option is right, because momentum is mass into velocity. So if kinetic energy increase, so that will increase the speed, and when it is going to hit the container, a wall of the container, so that is the momentum of the container, sorry, of the particle which is going to be hit by the container, wall of container. So 14B. Yes, B is the right choice. A substance can exist in three different states: solid, liquid, or gas. Each of two statements below describe a change of state. So first of all, let's check out the change one. Particles move much closer. It means they are going to be close to each other, but continue to travel throughout the substance. Okay. And the second statement is particles key stops traveling through the substance. It means their motion are stuck and just vibrate about their fixed position. So we need to identify the changes. What are the changes? So in second, we just got the concept of solid because of fixed position. And for option one, particles move much closer together but continue to travel through the substance. So it means we know the concept that in second state, we are having a state of solidification, because molecules are going to come close to each other. And in the first example, they are much closer, but still they are moving throughout the substance. So it means that gas form is going to be converted into liquid, that is condensation process. So straightforward choice option B. Option B. Question 16. Copper is a type of metal. A block of copper has a mass of 2 kg. Mass of a block. The block of copper absorbs 12,000 joule of energy, and the specific heat capacity, that is the value of C. What is the rise in temperature? So you know the formula for specific heat capacity. C is equals to amount of energy required to change unit mass by 1 degree Celsius or Kelvin. So we need to calculate the temperature. So we cross multiplied by C. So delta E divided by M into C. So change in energy will be equal to 12,000 divided by mass will be equal to 2 kg and specific heat capacity 385. So if we divide the value, so 12,000 divided by 2 multiply 385. 15.58 is the answer. That is degrees Celsius. And if we round it off, so that will be equal to 15.6. That is option A. A is the right option. Nice. Question number 17. Question number 17 says that the diagram shows the gap between a hot surface and a cold surface. The gap can contain air, that is gas state, iron, a solid state, a vacuum, water state. Which material in the gap allow the quickest transfer of thermal energy between the surface? We know that thermal energy, sound energy can travel more faster in solid. So that is very simple. Surface by conduction. They are talking about the conduction process also. So that is simple, very iron, because in iron or in solid molecules are tightly packed, and if we are going to provide thermal energy, so vibration will increase, they will quickly pass thermal energy. So that is simple. Option B. Yes, option B. Question number 18, which row about boiling and about evaporation is correct? We just need to differentiate between boiling and evaporation. So boiling takes place only at the surface, that is not possible. Takes place only at the surface, not possible. Takes place throughout the liquid, that is possible. Takes place only at the surface. So simple choice 18C, the basic definition of boiling and evaporation. No confusion. Question 19, light travels at a speed, that is the speed of light, or we may also write it by V. In the glass, the wavelength of the light is, this is the wavelength. And what is the frequency? So basically we need to solve by the formula of the speed of wave. V is equals to F lambda, and we need to find out the frequency. So V over lambda. So V is equal to 2.0 into 10 to the power 8 divided by lambda. Lambda is 4.0 into 10 to the power minus 7. So we just simply divide it by, so basically we are getting 0.5 exponent 8 plus 7. So that is 15, and if we shift one decimal, so that will be equal to option D, right? So D option is the right choice. D option is the right choice. Okay, so simple question, which term describes the effect shown? We just don't need to study the whole question, because question is very simple. They are talking about the concept, and the concept is of diffraction, because we studied in wave section when water waves are passing through the narrow gap, then it will convert into like semicircle pattern. So that is the phenomena of diffraction. 20D, right. Question number 21 is also very simple. They are talking about monochromatic light. So we already discussed about the monochromatic light. So basically monochromatic light is that in which frequency remains single, or a same frequency or a single frequency, plus a phase difference will also be same, or we can say that the phase angle will remain same. So light has a single frequency, option B. Option B, right. Okay, an object is placed 8 centimeter from a thin converging lens of focal length 5 centimeter. Object is placed over here. This is the position of object, and this is the focal length of the lens. Which statement about the image formed by the lens is correct? So first of all, if we increase the distance, focal length is at 5, and if we double the distance, so we will get the value of 2f. So again, memorize the concept of image formation when object is placed between f and 2f. So when object is placed between f and 2f, so image will be real and inverted. So which statement about the image formed by the lens is correct? So basically we are talking about when object is placed between f and 2f. So image will be, you may check out from the revision notes of mine. We already discussed in the topical section of the light. So the statement about the image formed by the lens is real and inverted. That is option A. Simple choice. A. 23, a ray of light travels through transparent plastic to air. The ray of light enters the air traveling parallel to the surface of the plastic. The refractive index of the plastic is 1.5. What is angle theta? So first of all, the refractive index, that is the value of n, is mentioned over here. And we know that when light is passing from dense to rare medium, because plastic is a dense medium and air is a rare medium, so we know the concept that will be a case of total internal reflection because light is moving from dense to rare medium. And when it is going to enter into a rare medium, so you see that it bends at 90 degree. That is from the normal. Light is bent at 90 degrees. So we know the concept that there is a critical angle, because at critical angle, light will bend at 90 degree. So we just use the formula n equals to 1 over sine c, or we need to calculate the theta. So we write it as theta for c. So basically theta will be equal to sine inverse 1 over n. We just cross multiply it, but we are not going to write sine in denominator, so that's why we write sine inverse. So by substituting the value and calculating from the calculator, shift sine 1 divided by 1.25. So you will get the correct answer from the calculator, that is 52 point something, and if we round up, that will be equal to 53. Option D, 53 degrees, right answer for question number 23. Okay, what is the speed of electromagnetic waves in a vacuum? So we know that the speed of electromagnetic waves in vacuum is equals to speed of light. According to the option, 3 into 10 to the power 4 centimeters. So there is change in unit centimeter, that is not possible. 3.5 into 10 to the power 5 kilometers. So that is possible because we know that 10 to the power 5 is already mentioned, and the value of kilo is 10 to the power 3. If we combine these values, so power will add up because base is same. So that will be equal to 10 to the power 8 meter per second. So straightforward choice, option B is the right one. B. Okay, question number 25. A pulse of sound is produced at the bottom of the boat. The sound travels through the water and is reflected from the seabed. The sound reaches the boat again after 1.3 seconds, that is the time. The seabed is 1000 meter below the boat. So that is the depth. And using this information, what is the speed of sound in the water? So we need to calculate the speed of sound. So we know there is a phenomena of echo, and we need to use the formula for echo, which will be equals to V is equals to 2D over T. So the depth will be equal to 1000 divided by 1.3 seconds. So 2000 divided by 1.3, that is 1538 meter per second. So if we round up the value, so option C is the right choice. That is option C. Option C. A sheet of ice floats on water. A surface of source of sound is positioned at the edge of the ice sheet. Four microphones are placed equal distance from S. Which microphone detects the sound from S first? So we know that there is air medium, there is a solid medium, and there is a water, but we are having double solid or ice, which is directly connected from point S to point B. So sound will move faster from this source of ice from the solid. So option B is the right option because there is a solid material which is directly connected with mic and the source S. So sound travel faster in solid. So option B is the right choice. Question 26. Question 27, the diagram shows a bar magnet and four plotting compasses, which compass correctly shows the direction of magnetic field due to the magnet. So you need to identify the magnetic field. So we know that when we are using the compass, so this direction of arrow shows you the North Pole, right? And we know that the North Pole or field will move from north to south. So the field of north or the field of the magnet is radially outward from the north side. So according to this situation, we need to identify the compass which shows the direction towards right hand side because north is moving towards right hand side. So D is the right choice because D is in the same line uh, in the center of the north, because in North Pole, if we are taking from the center, so field will move radially outward, but at the edges, field is going to be bent towards the North Pole like this. So that's why option D is the right choice because D is in the front of the north and that shows the direction exactly of the radially outward direction for North Pole. It means this direction. So D is the right choice. Right. A plastic rod is rubbed with a cloth. The rod becomes positively charged. Okay, so basically rod is positively charged. So it means cloth will be a negative charge. What happens to the plastic rod and what is the charge on the cloth? So we already identified that there will be a negative charge on the cloth, but when we are talking about the transfer of charges, so we know that only electron will flow. So basically cloth gains electron from the plastic rod because electrons are moving from plastic rod to the cloth. That's why cloth will be negative charge. So charge on cloth will be negative and plastic rod loses electron. So that is option C because in option they are talking about plastic rod and charge on cloth. So charge on cloth is negative and plastic rod loses electron and cloth is going to be gaining electron. So cloth will gain electron and rod will lose electron. So C is the right choice. The EMF of a mobile phone battery is 3.7 volt. What does this mean? So we know the concept that EMF is the amount of energy required to move a unit charge in a whole circuit. So according to that definition, you just need to find out the right choice. So that 3.7 joule of energy is provided by the battery to drive a charge of 1 coulomb around a complete circuit. So that is the right definition for the EMF. And in other definition, 3.7 joule is the maximum energy. This is not possible. Total energy, this is not possible because they are talking about recharge. 3.7 joule of energy is provided by the battery to drive a current. So this is not related to current. So option C is the right choice. Option C is the right choice. A computer engineer wants to the speed of a fan to increase when the temperature inside a computer increases. The engineer knows that a large current causes the fan to turn more quickly. So which component should be placed at X to make this happen? So the main concern is a computer engineer wants the speed of a fan to increase when the temperature inside the computer increase. So basically the main concern is related with temperature and speed. So we need to find a device that works on the temperature and that will increase the speed of the fan. That means that will increase the value of electric current with the temperature. So basically thermistor is the best choice that works on the principle of thermometer and that detects the temperature and increase the value of electric current. So by increasing the value of electric current, so speed of a fan will automatically increase. That is option B. Question 31. A water heater is connected to a 230-volt supply, that is the voltage, and there is a current of 26 ampere, value of I. It takes 20 minutes, that is the time, to heat the water to the required temperature. How much energy is supplied by the water? So the basic formula of energy is VIT. So voltage is 230 volt, electric current is 26 ampere, and the time is 20 minutes, and we need to convert minute into second. So 20 multiplied by 60. So if we multiply all these three values, so you will get the answer 7.2 exponent 6. That is option D. An electric kettle has a metal casing. The cable for the kettle contains a wire that is connected to the earth pin of the plug. So basically, the cable for the kettle contains a wire that is connected to the earth pin of the plug. So which danger does this guard against? So basically, electric kettle has a metal casing. One thing. Second thing is the cable for the kettle contains a wire that is connected to the earth pin of the plug. So what danger does this guard against? So basically, you need to find out the danger from which we are this wire is going to protect us. So we need to identify the danger, because if this wire or the live wire is going to connect with the metal case, so the metal case will be becoming alive and it will pass current, direct current to the that human being which is going to attach or touch this metal case. So the case of the kettle being live, because if there is no earth wire, so there is a chance that the metal body of that kettle or any other appliance is going to be live and it will pass the same current that is passing through the live wire. So 32, option B. An electric current can produce a heating effect and a magnetic effect, which Ross shows the effect that a relay uses and one application of a relay. So we need to identify the effect first. So we know that relay works on the magnetic effect. Heating effect is for thermistor and filament type materials. So we need to choose between C and D. So the working is allow a small current to switch on a large current. So that we already solved in maybe in other specimen paper for 5054. So that question is also repeated over there, or maybe in Feb March IGCSE. So it allows a small current to switch on a large current. So that is option C. C. Question 34, the diagram shows a bar magnet and a coil of wire. The bar magnet is moved at the same speed in each experiment. In which situation is the largest EMF induced? So we need to find out the value of largest EMF induced. So we know the factor that increase the number of turns in coil. So basically number of turns are same in each diagram. And the second factor is magnetic strength. So magnetic field is also same. It means that magnets are of same size. So only third factor, the speed of magnet. So the motion or the speed of magnet now help us to find out the greatest value of EMF. So in option A is normal condition, because when magnet moves towards right, there will be a value of EMF. But in option B, magnet is moving away, so there will be less value of EMF. In option C, both are moving in opposite direction. So it means magnet is moving towards coil and coil is also moving towards magnet. So there will be a contact between these two objects very quickly. And since both are moving in opposite direction and with some speed, so that will increase the induced EMF. So C is the right choice. So option C is the right choice. Let's see in marking scheme. C. 35, increasing the transmission voltage in transmission cable reduces power loss. What is the explanation for this reduction? So we know when we are transmitting a voltage through a long distance, so we are using high voltage and we use the concept of P is equals to VI. And if we are using high voltage, so value of electric current will decrease and resistance will also decrease. So that will reduce the power loss because resistance is very much less. So there will be less power loss in the cable. So that is the concept we already studied in theory related to long transmission in cables with high voltage. So according to that, the current decrease, reducing thermal energy loss. Yes, option A, because if we decrease the current, resistance will also increase because resistance act in the opposite direction. So in marking scheme, that is A. 36, there is an electric current in a straight wire in the direction into the page. This produces a magnetic field around the wire. Okay, so there is a current moving into the page and there will be a field around the wire. All the fields are circle, but only one field line is shown. So one field line is shown, you need to first find the direction. So we need to use the right hand rule. Right hand rule in the sense that was related with the thumb and the curl of the finger. So thumb represents the direction of current. So you need to place your thumb towards the screen because that will give you the direction of current that is into the page and your finger will curl in this direction. So it means that that will be the direction of magnetic field, that is clockwise rotation. So rotation will be clockwise. So A and B is not possible. So option C or D is possible. And if we talk about the spacing of field lines, so we know that if we are moving away from the electric current wire, so magnetic field will be reduced or it will be decreased. So there will be a weak magnetic field away from the wire. So more widely spaced further from the live wire. D is the right option because we need to increase the distance between the magnetic field lines as far as we are moving away from the electrical wire. So D is the right choice. Question number 37. The diagram shows emission from a source passing into the electric field between two charge plates. What is the emitted by this source? So we know that one is moving in a straight line, that is gamma, because gamma has no charge on it, and one is moving towards negative. So that means there will be some positive type radiation, that is alpha. So alpha and gamma only, because there is no deflection towards positive, that means there will be no beta source of radiation over there. So alpha particle and gamma particle only, option C. Right. Which row in the table describe the process of nuclear fusion and identifies the change in total mass of the particle involved? So we need to first find out the nuclear fusion reaction where we are going to find out the fusion reaction. Fusion reaction means to combine daughter nuclei to make a parent nuclei. So we need to find the combination. So a large nucleus split is not possible. So two small nuclei combine. Okay. Second option, change in total mass of the particle. So what will be the mass? Mass will increase or decrease. So there will be change in total mass of the particle because we know that there are some radiations coming out and there will be a decrease in mass or decrease in energy because energy and radiations are coming out from nuclear reactions, that is fission or fusion. In both reactions energies are going to be coming out, so mass will also decay because we studied the concept of half life and radioactive decay. So 38, option C. 39, the orbit of moon around the earth is modeled as a circular path of the radius, that is the distance or the radius. The orbital speed Orbital period is 29.5 days, that is 710 hours. Okay. So what is the orbital speed of the moon? So we need to calculate the orbital speed. So we know the formula V is equals to 2 pi r over t. And according to that, 2 pi multiplied by r, that is 3.8 into 10 to the power 5 divided by time. And time is mentioned in hours. So observe that all units are in hours. So you just need to write 710. And there is also a unit of kilometer, so you don't need to convert this kilometer and hours. You need to calculate in the same form. So that will give you the value like this, divided by 710. So if we calculate it, so calculation will be, first of all, to multiply by the value of pi, multiply by 3.8 exponent 5 divided by 710. So we are getting answer 3362.8 meter per second. And if we write it in a scientific notation, so that will be equal to round of 3.4 exponent 3. So that is option D, because that will be round off like this, 3.4 and 1, 2, 3. So option D is the right choice. Final question, which statement does not describe redshift? So we need to find out the concept of redshift, which statement is not showing the concept of the redshift. So according to that first option, as all the light emitted from all distant galaxies is at the red end of the spectrum. So basically they are talking about all the light emitted from all distant galaxies is at the red end of the spectrum. So that is not correct, because redshift tells you about the galaxies which are moving away from the Earth, right? So they are talking about the motion of the galaxies away from the Earth. So there is no concept of the red end of the spectrum and the distant galaxies. So we know the concept of Doppler effect. We already solved in the concept of in the specimen paper also. So that will give you the right concept for redshift. So according to that, option A will be the right choice, because that is not explaining the statement of redshift. Yes, that is option A. So these are the MCQs of a specimen paper for IGCSE. Now we already solved these questions related to specimen 5054, specimen 0652, sorry. And we already solved, and you will find on my channel the videos related to the topical solution of all MCQs for P1 5054 or P20652 IGCSE, and all other February March paper related to IGCSE is also available on the channel. You may find out the playlist. Let me show you the playlist also. So that will give you the idea where you find the all the sections. Okay, so there are multiple playlists. Uh, the first playlist is for the topical solution, and all specimen and the February March papers are going to be included over here. And otherwise, if you want to revise all the topics, so you may find it in the section O levels, IGCSE. So you may find over there, right? So in next video, we will solve some remaining topical solution of the MCQs, and then we solve yearly papers. Till then, take care. Allah Hafiz.